Sick, and we should be alive. Good morning and welcome back. It is Tuesday, my dudes. Reset day. For those who don't know, it is currently time for Season of the Worthy. I'm currently downloading it because I'm a dummy. Yeah. I'm downloading the update, but while I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and go through all the changes and let you know what I think about them, because there's a pretty hefty sum of changes that hit this season, yeah, it's going to shake up quite a bit within the meta game that we all kind of play. Let me just. There we go. Okay. Titan raised barricade health from 500 to 600, takes extra damage from special ammo weapons, anti-barrier weapons, and certain power weapons. So big one on that is shotguns and fusion rifles are gonna have bonus damage to them. Yeah, just like it says here. Yeah, shotguns and fusions, and then snipers, grenades, linear fusions, machine guns, trace rifles, anti-barrier weapons. So there is going to be a reason to run trace rifles, because as like what we were thinking before was that there wasn't going to be much reason, because 600s were going to kill like faster than them anyway, and it's essentially the same kind of weapon where it's just like you're both weapon archetypes are trying, like the goal is to trace your enemy. What else? Okay, shoulder charges are getting nerfed. So they were super nerfed before, where it was a really short distance, and that was in order to mitigate having people using shoulder charge as a movement tool, which it is. Like it's very much like a really good movement tool for like you get a quick burst of speed that lets you maneuver out of the way if you're doing something mid-slide, or if you're in the air and you need quick lateral movement. You can shoulder charge. They're reducing the tracking, which I'm a huge fan of, because the way it was, you could be behind someone in the air and someone using shoulder charge could hit their melee button and they would track 180 degrees behind them up at you and kill you. So I'm really hoping that this means that that's not going to happen anymore. I feel like it might, just because of like network latency and like the weirdness with melee hit registration and stuff like that. There's a lot of weirdness there, but at the very least, like it'll help mitigate a lot of that stuff. Fist of Havoc super increased light attack. Okay, so increased cost. So they're making it so that the heavy attack isn't so punishing to the duration of the super, which is pretty good, considering like one use and you're already like a fourth done with your super. So here they're making it 21%, so it's not quite a fourth of your super, but it's a healthy lump sum. Frontal assault reduced duration from 15 to 12 seconds. Frontal assault is a very slept on perk. This nerf isn't really gonna do much to it, but try it out. It's really good. Frontal assault, really good. No longer increases weapon equip speed. Interesting. Weapon stability bonus decreased from 75 to 44. Okay. So the way frontal assault worked before is that my like bar for how it affects the game stability wise is like, what does it do to the least stable weapons? So before that was Last Word and Hardlight. Hardlight had its own intrinsic screen bounce, but it still kind of helped. Last Word had no recoil whatsoever with frontal assault active. So it'll be interesting to see how much of an impact this specific change has on weapons like that, especially now considering that stability is so much more desirable on hand cannons than it was before. Maybe some folks who are hanging on to their high impact hand cannons, or like medium or low impact hand cannons, that have like really low stability but really high range, can use frontal assault in order to bolster the effectiveness of their hand cannons without having to farm for another roll. Ballistic slam increased knockback significantly. That's cool. I wonder. So I was using ballistic slam before a couple days ago, and there was an instance where I was able to slam someone into a wall, which was pretty cool. I wonder. Now procs inertia override on hit. Sick. So I wonder if we're going to be seeing more people getting collatted up against walls. Bonus damage versus low tier PvE combatants reduced by 20%. Okay, so it was dealing a lot of damage. I'm wondering now if this means it's not going to do enough to one bang red bars. We'll see. If it can't like immediately kill low tier red bars, I would not agree with this. Like if I can't just clear out a crowd of thrall that are at full health, I don't know how I feel about that. Like I wouldn't say I would like it for sure, but we'll have to see the effectiveness, especially paired with exotics, like say for example Dune Marchers, which got a huge buff. Inertia override added a 0.5 second activation delay. This change was made to allow the Titan to make the most of its duration. Ability indicator now displays time remaining. Okay, they made it so that it has a short activation delay, kind of like what they did to Night Stalker Invis bombs, which essentially made it so that if you were tagged with an Invis bomb from an Invis smoke nade from a friendly hunter, it would wait like half a second before you went invis, so that you wouldn't like immediately shoot a shot and waste your invis. So I like this. It's an interesting quality of life change. We'll see how it pans out, but I like little quality of life changes like that. Increased damage resistance while it's super from 49% to 50. Oh, interesting. Okay. Made flight speed more consistent. Yeah, depending on your flight angle, there was a like you could change your velocity, which was interesting. I thought that was intentional to add skill gap, but maybe not. Increased detonation damage from 3200 to 3900. Interesting. Reduced super energy gain per hit from 4% to 3%. Okay. Well, that's not huge. I mean, it does stack with hands-on. And if you still have a hands-on, whatchamacallit, insurmountable skull fort. If you still have one of those, you're still going to be building up super like crazy, so I don't think it's going to be that huge of a deal. Code of the Devastator reduced idle super animation from 28 seconds to 25 seconds. Oh, idle super duration. Reduced it from 28 to 25. Okay, so reduced overall super energy. Heavy slam explosion, less likely to deal damage through cover. That's good. Added damage fall off to heavy slam explosion. Okay. Fix an issue in which ground follow attacks can go through walls. Okay, cool. All very good. Glad that this specific Titan subclass didn't become a scourge upon the Crucible the way a lot of people thought it would. The super is still very high tier, and I'm pretty sure with these changes it's not going to be moving down from that post anytime soon. Like just speaking of supers, the neutral game might still need some love, might not. I don't play it enough to really be able to say, but I will say that I haven't seen it necessarily that often in higher tier play. But then again, like, it's not necessarily like the most serious, quote unquote serious subclass tree. So if they wanted to go that route, I'm sure they would, but they haven't, and they've reined it in. The super is still going to be very high tier for this, particularly in 6s, so no big deal. In PvE, not so sure. Trip mine grenade can now stick onto enemy players and combatants. Yes! Reduce base damage to 140, damage remains at 160 when used with young Ahamkara's spine exotic. Okay. If you're using trip mines and you want to stick people with them, you're actively going out of your way to stick people with them. 1, have a demolitionist gun. 2, use middle tree gunslinger for the knives. Every knife hit gets you energy back if you're using young Ahamkara's spine. And 3, use young Ahamkara's spine because of the fact that trip mine by itself will damage you. Like, it'll damage you. It'll hit you with the same 140 if you're too close to your target that your target will get hit with. If you're using young Ahamkara's spine, you'll deal bonus damage. You'll deal damage over a larger area, and you won't deal damage to yourself. You get some grenade energy back, and there you go. Presto changeo. Incredibly good pairing, made even better by this change. We'll see how it plays out in the future, but as for now, we gotta keep it moving. Knife impact damage increased from 35 to 48. Reduced knife detonation radius from 5 meters to 3 meters. Okay. Should no longer apply large amounts of knockback to tanky combatants. Interesting. Okay, so the large amounts of knockback, kind of reminiscent to Wardcliff Coil. So that's cool. Reduced knife detonation radius, pretty good. The knives feel like they'll kill you no matter what if you see them anywhere near. So I don't know if this change will have a huge impact, but it should have some impact. Knife impact damage increased from 35 to 48. Okay, so they're basically like trying to incentivize people like actually hitting folks with the blade barrage, which is interesting because it's an auto tracking and you can't really influence it all that much aside from like just pointing what zip code you want knives to end up at, but that's neither here nor there. Weighted knife. They nerfed it a little bit. Change tracking style to reduce the chance of the knife being pulled away from its intended target. Sick. Cool. Okay. I think whatever it is that they're doing to the weighted knife, they should do it to the Lumina. That's it. Arcstrider fixed an issue which players in Arcstaff were able to dodge infinitely even after the super energy has been depleted. Did not know that was happening. Wish I did. Reduced auto targeting angle by 50%. Cool. As it was yesterday, Tempest Strike would auto track really freaking hard. So if you're using a combo like Martyr's Retribution for the ground wave, and then following up immediately with a Tempest Strike for the power wave, it would kill. However, if there were 2 people there and they were like slightly offset, you would hit one person with one thing and the other person with the other thing if you weren't properly aiming it. So I personally would want them to turn off the auto targeting, just because it's not like shoulder charge where you actually have to register like a person-to-person hit. Like, you're letting out a wave of energy. Like, if anything, like increase the space in which like the Tempest Strike can actually hit you, but take out tracking completely. Like, it doesn't go around corners. It doesn't curve. You know, it's not like wanted. Like, it's not like, it's a power wave from freaking Fatal Fury. So just let it play in that space to take out the tracking. We don't need it. And we're good. But bonus damage versus low tier PvE combat. Oh, they're reducing it. So they're reducing a lot of the damage numbers for these melee abilities, and it's going to be interesting moving forward to see what they do with that. Really, yeah. Just because I don't know that there is anything aside from like Liar's Handshake that would buff. No, it wouldn't. Liar's Handshake wouldn't even buff Tempest Strike because you can't trigger the perk and then do a Tempest Strike unless you, yeah. That's gonna be theory crafting for another day. But moving on. Increased activation delay while sprinting from 0.25 to 1 second. Okay. Reduce dodge recharge rate bonus by 10%. Oh, I mean, sure, but the main reason to use focus breathing isn't to get your dodge back. It's for the bonus sprint speed. You're fast as hell. Reduce grenade and melee recharge rate increase while health is critical from 500 to 400. I already felt like you weren't getting much of a bonus, but then again, if you're pairing it with Frosties, then I could see why. We're getting a lot of like overall nerfs this season. We'll see how it plays out. Like, we'll definitely see how it plays out, especially with the new exotics that they're introducing this season. Considering that whatever seasons that they're going to be releasing should have been on the same pipeline, on the same track as a lot of these like changes, like sandbox changes. So we'll see if they like balance out or if they're completely dissonant and don't work together. Like, there's nothing for bonus damage with Jolt Charge or bonus damage with Tempest Strike, or we can just move on and just see. Or maybe it's just like stuff that just doesn't even have anything to do with each other. You know, that could be a possibility. Focus breathing. Lightning reflexes reduced damage reduction during dodge and PvP from 40% to 32%. Okay, this is good. I'm of the opinion that you shouldn't have any damage resistance reduction anyway, or that it should be at like maybe 25%. Not the biggest fan of having any sort of damage resistance on there. Hey, me from the future while editing this video that you're watching right now. What I meant here was that I was wondering whether the launch angle when using Burst Glide while Heat Rises is active would actually increase to give you higher vertical movement as opposed to what it was doing before the patch went active. I didn't really use Top Tree Dawnblade that much before the fix went live, so I can't really attest to this really, but I personally haven't seen any real changes to the trajectory that it sends you. Just that now enemies can track you while you're floating in the air with the Heat Rises perk active. So yeah, back to the video. So they made it so that you can shoot more arrows, basically, which is pretty cool. I like having more arrows in my quiver. Combat provision increased melee recharge on grenade damage from 6% to 8%, which is pretty cool. I like in-class neutral synergies. Increased grenade recharge when you turn an ally invisible from 70. Oh, 24%. That's a hefty sum. That is a pretty hefty sum. We'll have to see how that plays out, but I'm gonna assume that that's gonna be really good. Like, I'm gonna say that right now. Bottom Tree Night Stalker, really solid changes for you guys for just neutral game. Not even talking about like the super at all, because the super, more arrows, cool, that's fine, but greater recharges on using your abilities, which it was already doing to a pretty good extent, like, to be honest. Okay. Okay, so Warlock has more melee range now. Okay, Ophidian Aspect Melee range is unchanged to 6.5. Cool. This is just something that they had to throw in there. I'm glad that they did. So it isn't adding the same amount as it was before. It's just hitting the same level. Storm Chance damage ramp up now falls off more slowly after releasing attack button. Interesting. So that should pair pretty well with the chest piece that Storm Callers got last season. Still not going to make it super good. It's still gonna pale in comparison to the Crown of Tempests, but you know, what can you do? Reduce chain damage. Reduce chain damage from 36 to 27. Reduce grenade energy recharge on chain. 30% to 2% in PvE, 10% to 8% in PvP. Reduce chain damage from 12 meters to 11 meters. I feel like they should have made it 10 meters or 8 meters. Because arc web does not feel good to use or play against. We'll see, but increased super energy cost from 4% to 6% for Ionic Blink, which is interesting, considering how much super energy it takes to hold down the attack button when you're actually trying to kill someone. Reduce the range of blink from 4.5 meters to 4.2 meters. Fine tuning, I guess. Basically can be, you can just ignore that if you're using burst glide and you burst and blink at the same time. Just don't even worry about it. Chain lightning melee, reduce chain damage from 31% to 27%. I'm cool with that. Ionic Trace. Oh, Leyline High. Oh, yeah. Travel speed by 42%, turn speed by 83%. Okay, turn speed is the most important part, because if you just so happen to like get out of the way, there's not a lot of chances that the ley line will actually follow you to where you're going. So I like this. I like these changes, especially the one where you can more easily collect them in the air. Your whole class kind of revolves, your whole subclass kind of revolves around the ley lines and getting your abilities up and getting kills, and then, you know, having that feed into itself. I'm glad that they're making that a bit more accessible. Reduce the intensity of the visual effects to improve visibility for Chaos Reach. Yes! Increased beam endpoint radius from 2 meters to 2.4 meters. Interesting. Electrostatic surge. So, okay. They just made it easier to use. No damage changes, no range changes, no, you know, none of that. They just made Chaos Reach easier to use. Down with it. It's super cool. Moving on. Attunement of the elements now correctly increases class ability regen when near allies. That's bottom tree. Note was mistakenly increasing super regen previously. Oops. Voidwalker. Okay. Handheld Supernova. Reduced range by 20%. Increased activation time by 0.6 seconds. Reduced hold time from 3.5 seconds to 2.5 seconds. Bolt Explosion now does self-damage. Tighten horizontal spread of bolts by 25%. Reduced bolt explosion radius from 3 meters to 2.5. So essentially, they made it harder to use. It's closer range. It's tighter together. You can hold onto it for a lot shorter. And now you have a chance of killing yourself. I like these changes. Handheld Supernova needs more downsides to it, as it was before. I think there was a time period where Handheld Supernova first came out, and folks were just like, "Oh, this thing, like, inconsistent, don't like it, not good, whatever, moving on to the next thing." And it just kind of like got ignored for that whole time and I'm pretty sure like there were some changes along the way, but Handheld Supernova has always kind of worked the same until now. So we'll see, because Handheld Supernova is incredibly meta for a lot of folks that just need like a close range response option, especially if you have Controverse hold. So you could use a sniper, you could use a pulse rifle, or you could, instead of a pulse rifle, you could use an auto rifle or anything. You could sacrifice close range completely because you had handheld supernova. So now making it harder to use increases the skill gap, which I am a huge fan of, and then we'll see where it goes from here. It's probably still going to be good. It's probably going to be even more effective on supers like they said it was going to be. But, you know, only time will tell. And yeah, moving on. Increased damage reduction on Nova Warp from 49% to 51%. Increased idle super duration from 22 to 24. Reduced cost of blink by 20. Okay. A good Nova Warp user, not myself, don't want to fool anyone here. A good Nova Warp user can track you around the map, no big deal, and then kill you. Like, they will hunt you down and they will kill you. If you're using regular blink, you're already faster than most of the other classes in the game. Then you have dark blink, increased duration, and reduced cost for the blink. Nova Warp is gonna be really strong this season, y'all. We'll see. I mean, because the super itself is gonna be really good, but with handheld supernova getting a nerf, I don't know if people are gonna be as attracted to it. Good perks within neutral game tend to attract more attention from the broader audience, with good reason, because you're in neutral more often than you are in super, regardless of how hard you slay out, regardless of how many super gaining perks that you have on you. In order to get that super up even faster, like, it's not like you're not generally in mayhem, so just like we can't weigh Nova Warp just on super alone. But the super is going to be really freaking good and not to be ignored. Dark matter, increased grenade recharge on kill from 10 to 14. Okay. Yeah. Sick. Attunement of hunger, vortex, linger duration from 5 to 7. Reduced linger tick. Okay. Increased projectile speed. And Nova Bomb kills now proc Devour, which is nice. Nice touch. Increased Devour duration from 10 to 11. Insatiable. Kills now grant between 16 and 24% grenade energy depending on the tier of enemy killed. Interesting. Play kills are 24%. Cool. We'll see how that plays out, but 24% is a healthy sum. You could get 4 kills, or you could get 3 kills and just like chill in between them and get your nade back. What's up, Lucid? How you doing, bud? Welcome to the stream. We're just going through the patch notes. I'm currently recording as well, just so I can have this for future reference and also on my YouTube channel. I believe we already finished updating Destiny, so I'm just have that booting up in the background. In the meantime, I'm gonna be reacting to these, so sit tight. Attunement of Sky, Heat Rises, fixed an issue in which Heat Rises buff was causing combatants to ignore you. Interesting. I wonder if that was like specifically from PvE, or if it's like a cheeky joke with PvP. We'll see. Fixed an issue in which Icarus dash cooldown was interfering with a daybreak dodge. Yes, so perfect. I didn't read them yet. Nice. So with the Icarus dash, there was a bit of a, I wouldn't say bug, just like a programming boo-boo, programming slip-up, in which if you used both Icarus dashes before popping super, the timer would stop at 1, and you would have a timer of 1 second between Icarus dashes that you could use while in Dawnblade super. So they're basically fixing that. Hopefully they're making it so that the cooldown timer just goes away when you pop super, or that it just, I don't know. That's the only change that I would see making it more consistent, is just taking away the timer completely. Armor. So now we're on to the gear. We just went through all the subclasses. So now we're on to the gear. Increase the number of armor sets available from the world drops from 11 sets up from to 11 sets up from 3. Several sets that were previously unavailable or extremely difficult to come by are now available as world drops. Sick. So I'm thinking that they're going to bring back a lot of like the older sets, kind of like the old Vanguard set or whatever. Not Vanguard per se, but like the Ikora set, where it was the class gear before like it got all destroyed like in the war or whatever. Armor energy, big one. You can now change the energy type of any piece of armor to either of the other 2 energy types directly from the armor piece's inspection screen by hovering the cursor over the armor's energy icon. The cost of changing the armor to another energy type at energy value is 1 is 1 upgrade module. You can also change the armor to another energy type at the equivalent energy value to its current energy value. The cost for doing so is 1 upgrade module, the aggregate cost of upgrading from energy value 1 to its current energy value. So folks who have masterworked gear and wanted to take it from void to arc, or arc to solar, or solar to void, or any other way in between, grind out now, because you will have a lot of things that you need to spend on. So big ones in particular for chest piece and boots, and hands if you're looking for hands. So hands are important because solar hands, solar, arc, and void, they have different grenade and melee perks. So fastball is universal, but impact induction is not, and there's like enhanced versions of that. So if you have like an armor piece, like say for example sun bracers, and like the perk itself already increases the grenade regen if you get a melee kill kind of deal. So you don't want it to be in that element, you want it to be in the other element where dealing damage with your grenade then recharges your melee, because then you have in weapon or in armor, in gear piece, like synergy. So huge fan of this, but also it's going to cost a pretty penny. So grind. And I personally, I'm so excited to just be able to grind everything out, have everything in the right element, and just have that agency over my gear. I'm a huge fan. Armor stats. Prime engrams will now more reliably drop armor with higher overall stat rolls. Oh, and spikier distributions. Yes! Dude, okay, so there was not a reason before to grind out prime engrams. In fact, it was just a thing that would drop and you would have it and then you would move on with your life and it would be cool, whatever. If you leveled up with pinnacle gear or something like that, prime engrams just kind of like sat in the background because they weren't adding anything to your armor total, really, on the off chance that you had a piece that was like lower than everything else that you that you were trying to level up. Now, on top of having the small chance of doing that, it'll have higher overall stat rolls. So that means that actually grinding out prime engrams or looking for prime engrams and holding on to them will have some sort of bearing on the stats that you have on your character. Play more, character gets stronger. Play more, character gets stronger. I'm a fan of that. It's good change. Exotic armor will now more reliably drop with higher overall stat rolls. Sick. I'm tired of shit dropping at like 55. Exotics is dropping at 55. Like, are you kidding me? Legendary armor now has an improved chance of receiving higher overall stat rolls, though low rolls will still be present. Okay, cool. Like, fan of that. Just decrease the amount of drops within that like middle range of like just the 52 to like 56. Like those, like overall stat, like armor pieces, like those can just kind of disappear. Like the low to high, like I dig that, because middle, it gets you like it's closer to than it is to there's like you want more extreme reactions to the stuff that you're having drop, and I'd hate like just looking at my character screen and being like, it's 50, it's 55, I guess I'll maybe hold on to it. Like, no, I want to be hype about my gear. So this is good. I like this. Seasonal armor mod socket can now equip mods during the season, before and after. So Dawn will be undying and worthy, so on and so forth. So the stuff for this season is going to be able to use powerful friends if you want more mobility out of your character. So interesting. Hands-on now provides energy on projectile melee kills such as the Hunter's Throwing Knife. Was not aware that it wasn't doing that. Sick. Very happy about it. Hands-on is a mod that makes it so that every time you get a melee kill, you have increased super regen, as opposed to the regular amount that you would get. Hands-on is up there with, let's say for example, if you're rocking remote connection, which is for sniper rifles, or if you're watching, or if you're using, sorry, I'm just like jumbling up all the words right now, or if you're using, there's like a grenade one and a grenade launcher one, there's a shotgun one. Hands-on is the one for doing melees, and now that we have it working on projectiles such as the Hunter's Throwing Knife, which is already getting super energy back, see where I'm going with this? We're going to see a lot more of the precision gunslingers, and not just in PvP. I'm going to say also in PvE, especially in activities that don't include the Vex, because they suck for throwing knives. Assassin's Cowl is getting changed. It triggers on powered melee rather than melee kill for Guardians, and then finishers, of course. The duration is based off the tier of the enemies, so a more powerful enemy, like say a Guardian versus a Thrall, will give you more invis back, and Art Staff kills no longer activate this perk. Thank God. I don't know why that was a thing. I think because of the way that the melees are coded and stuff like that, it kind of slipped through the cracks, but it's totally cool. Frosties, change the ability regen so that it no longer stacks multiplicatively with other class ability energy generating perks. So what this means is that Frosties will increase your dodge regen, and focus breathing will increase your dodge regen. Frosties will not make your focused breathing regen more. Frosties has its own regen. Focused breathing has its own regen. They work together, but they work at the same office, but they don't work together, essentially. Capri Sting, all of your smoke bombs deal 150% damage while wearing this exotic. Really cool change for Middle Tree Night Stalkers. The maximum amount of super you can regain from Orpheus Rigs is at 50%. So there's going to be more incentive to use it with the bottom tree, if I'm not mistaken. Mobius Quiver. Young Ahamkar's Spine increases the explosion radius for trip mines by 14%. I don't know if they're just stating facts here, or if it's just like, if they're, are they buffing it? Because Young Ahamkar's Spine was already detonating like really freaking far. Like regular trip mine is like this, I would say. Young Ahamkar's Spine, like that. So if they're increasing it by 14%, that's gonna look closer to like, yeah, ish. It's gonna be a really strong exotic. Let's see. Ashen Wake, killing an enemy with a fusion grenade while wearing this exotic now refunds grenade energy, which is pretty cool. Thanks, Mungo. The amount of grenade energy refunded scales based on the tier of enemy killed. Also cool. Thanks, Mungo. Ashen Wake wasn't much reason to use it other than the fact that it gives a little bit of bonus damage to fusion grenades. So if you were using a hand cannon in a crucible and you had Ashen Wake on, you could bop someone to the body and throw a fusion nade at them, and it would guarantee the kill. How it is for like without Ashen Wake, you'd have to get a headshot, and it would have to be a specific archetype of hand cannon. I think it has to be at least like a 140. That like you hit them to the head, and then you throw the fusion grenade, and it kills them. But with the bonus damage and stuff like that, like there's a little bit more leeway damage wise. Anti-S wards, the shield created during a slide no longer allows chip damage through, which is interesting. So hopefully that makes it so that's that bug with like getting shot and having it like rattle around between your skull and the shield at your feet would just fucking kill you. Doomfang Pauldrons. Fix an issue where Doomfang Pauldrons would sometimes grant super energy from melee kills while in your super. It's supposed to be just with the frisbee tosses. So if you're in super and you have Doomfang Pauldrons on, and you could get shields out fast enough, you could maintain infinite super. As it was granting super energy on melee kills, so thank God that they changed that, because that would be hilariously broken. Dune Marchers increases the radius of static charge to 20 meters, up from 12. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. Because of the fact that at the 12, you're trying to make sure that the person that you hit with the initial melee is within range of the other person that you want to hit with that melee. So, say for example, if you had a throwing hammer, and you throw a throwing hammer, and you want it to shock two people in a distance, you need to make sure that they're almost in shotgunning range of each other. Now, you just have to make sure that they're within sidearm range of each other, right? Shotgunning range versus sidearm range. This is huge because of the fact that Dune Marchers almost deals the same amount of damage as a regular melee. So if you're using a throwing hammer, you're going to get that much more out of it. If you're using the Dune Marchers with the Death from Above melee with the middle tree striker, even more damage. Like I'm pretty sure that's a kill confirm right there, on a large group even. So yeah, really cool change. Cool for the Titans. 44 stand-asides. Overshield comes on in 0.5 seconds, down from 1.25, which is really cool. This is going to increase the amounts of people who are aping with Titans for a short amount of time. I don't think they're gonna stick around for that long, just because the shotguns are also getting retuned in this update. But this will kind of pad the blow that the nerfs are hitting with. One-Eyed Mask has been replaced with target highlighting. So if you've used the Jade Rabbit before, and you can see like people's outlines while you're ADS, but you can't see them when you're firing from the hip, that's what it is. No longer provides damage bonus, restored the overshield from before, and now has a duration of 6 seconds. All changes that I like. That's good. It should stick to a single identity. Like any given exotic should stick to a single theme and just move with that. One-Eyed Mask, the revenge mechanic it had too much going on. You got bonus damage, you got being able to see through walls, and it's just too much. Like too much going on. So I'm glad that they're adjusting it. Severance Enclosure. The explosion now triggers on powered melee, both against combatants and guardians and finishers. The radius and damage is based on the tier of enemy defeated. Cool. Apotheosis Veil, guaranteed to drop with plus 16 intellect, so that's interesting. So they can control if specific armor pieces have specific stat rolls from the get-go coming out of the gate. So that piece of information is interesting to me, not for the plus 16 intellect, but specifically for that. So it makes me wonder if stuff like Shinobu's Vow, like Starfire Protocol, like Ashen Wake, like Young Ahamkara's Spine, or Lucky Raspberry, if any other of these sort of grenade-based armor pieces, exotic armor pieces, are going to have like at least 5 discipline moving forward, or like at least 10, or at least, you know, however much. 16 is a pretty good number. That almost gets you 2 tiers right there. All you need is like another piece, or maybe like 3 of your pieces to be masterworked. No, 2 of your other pieces to be masterworked, because then they add the 4 that you're missing for the intellect. Sanguine Alchemy is changed so that instead of being able to see people through walls, killing people while in your rift extends the duration of the rift, and it doesn't extend it per se, it just makes it so that the timer stops ticking downwards. So you don't get more time. The amount of time that you have just stays the same for a short while. You know what I mean? Cool. Fitting aspects. Now increases the lunge range of all Warlock melee attacks, even if the ability is on cooldown. So powered melees would be 6.5 meters, but regular melees would go back down to the 4.5 that they were before. Now wearing fitting aspects means that you have a 6.5, I think, meter melee range, regardless of whether you have the cooldown up or not, which is pretty cool. That'll provide for some interesting gameplay, especially in the close range, considering Warlocks do melee slower than all the other classes. So we'll see if it balances the scales. And hopefully it doesn't stack with Stormcaller, because I don't want a 10-meter melee again. Like, that shit's ridiculous. No, don't put that in the game. 10-meter instant melee. Stuff like throwing knives and ball of lightning, like, those are fine. Verity's Brow. The buff provided by this exotic now increases your grenade damage by 10% per stack. So Verity's Brow didn't necessarily do anything before. I mean, it gives you refund of grenade energy when you're getting kills with an energy weapon. So now they're changing it to buffing your allies' grenade recharge rates, and you're not getting a notification, push notification on your little fucking helmet HUD that shows, hey, you're helping out your teammates with getting their grenade charge back up. So that's pretty cool. Being able to stack up that bonus and get your grenade back faster is really cool. Izanagi getting nerfed. A lot of these weapons have already been covered by a whole bunch of other people, so I'm not going to try and touch the work that has already been done out there. Just know that the info is out there, and there are people that are smarter than me and better at disseminating this information that have already gone through it and projected what the effects on the meta are going to be. Yeah. Devil's Ruin. Yeah, swords. I'm not going to touch any of that. Like, I'm going to play around with swords because they're getting a change, so that they're more accessible to use within the game without having to rely on heavy ammo, because using a sword is rough. Like, using a sword is rough, dude. Yeah, all this other stuff. Auto rifles coming up in the meta. 90 RPM snipers and 140 RPM snipers going down in the meta. Shotguns getting range change, so aiming down sights does not make your shotgun shoot farther. Also, Backup plan is getting a nerf. Yes. Don't put exotic. Don't, Bungie, please. Don't put exotic perks on legendary weapons without changing them to be less effective than the exotic that they came from. Please. It's like if you put Plancy and Saladin's Vigil together, like that's what Aaron Till is. Like, just reduce the effectiveness, please. That's all I ask. Fixed issues with Thousand Voices. With the emissive elements. Okay, so that's stuff that's totally different. Oh, 1-2 punch. They took out double stacking. So now you can only single stack. So that's cool. And then there's gonna be emblem stats can be equipped or unequipped. Nice. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think planetary materials. Okay, cool. Glimmer shard when used causes it drop additional glimmer when defeated effect as. Okay, cool. And then there's a lot of like UI changes. Okay. So that's gonna be it for the patch portion, the fixes and stuff portion of the stream. I'm gonna go ahead and hop into Discord with my homies. If you're watching this on YouTube, hello YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that we're gonna be doing today. We're gonna be diving into the rest of the season. So if you wanted to catch me doing more of that, you can find me on twitch.tv /ReginaldKid. I'm live every Tuesday, and I'm gonna be live again this Friday for trials. Gonna be watching my friends. Where the fuck are you? I am still going through patch notes. There's a shit ton of stuff, dude. But yeah, so the friends are getting antsy, food is getting cold. I need to go and do my thing. So thank you so much for tuning in for me going through the patch notes. Regardless of whether this is your 5th video or your 1st minute with me, I'm just so thankful that you came, checked out my channel. I swear I'm not trying to rush through this. It's not you, it's me. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, YouTube, and may my discovery lead to your victory. Peace out, folks.